New video we showed you in the last hour, Cuba releasing the video of Russia's patriarch meeting with Fidel Castro. Very historic meeting. Also new this morning, a Gallup poll reveals that fewer Americans say that U.S. is the world's #1 military power. To retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer on this. I got to tell you, Colonel Shaffer,
Sure.
only 49% of Americans say that we're the #1 military power in the world, down from 59% last year and 64% in 2010. I think that speaks volumes about where we are in terms of the world, right?
Absolutely, and I think your point is spot on. It's a perception. Now, let me say this. I think militarily we are at the top of our game regarding the technology and capabilities. With that said, the will to fight, the ability to fight, those key elements of any army, of any military, are not there anymore. And there's two reasons for that. First, Charles, is the fact that this administration has done everything it can to basically, quote-unquote, lead from behind. That vacuum has been filled by others, which we'll talk about in a second. Secondly, when you leave a military like ours with no clear direction, you basically have a boat, a very expensive boat, floating around the water with no clear objectives. So with the lack of leadership, with a lack of objectives, every other potentate like North Korea, every other basically strongman like Putin then have an open field to run, and by gosh, they're running, and the American public sees that.
Yeah, of course, our men and women do have the will to fight, but they've been held back, and I think the capture of those U.S. Navy sailors probably is case in point of that. But this election, voters are being asked, even on the Republican side, to sort of go with the military that's not really aggressive. It's large, but it's not aggressive. Maybe we carry a big stick and we don't use it very often. But is that realistic in a world where you have Vladimir Putin, who just over the weekend, there are video images of him bombing hospitals? I mean, they have carpet bombed Syria to the point where they are killing everyone. Anything that moves, they're killing it. Do we say that's okay because it's not happening here?
It's not okay. We should speak up. And I'm amazed that John Kerry, who is supposed to be this stalwart of victims' rights and the rights of the oppressed, is saying absolutely nothing. It's totally befuddling to me. And Charles, let me be clear on this. So much of what is necessary regarding fixing the military is not the technology, it is not the manpower, it's not the people. It's the image. It's the perception. Sun Tzu once said the best thing you can do is defeat an enemy before you get to the battlefield. That means you have to outthink the enemy. That's what we did during the Cold War. As much as anything else, we figured out a way to push the Russians, the Soviets' buttons, and make them deconstruct. We're not doing that. There's no perception that we will not act with impunity if necessary. It's the opposite. It's like we will only act if we're really pushed to, and even when we're pushed to do it, we probably won't. It's the perception that is hurting us. It is that perception which will kill us, because that perception puts in the mind of an adversary weakness, and that they will act on the weakness, not on the strength we actually have, and that's what causes wars.
There's no doubt about it. Everyone out there, to your earlier point, is emboldened right now against the United States. But also, having said that, when Donald Trump says we don't win wars anymore, I think that goes back to Vietnam. Once it was beamed over television and we saw those troops dying, it feels like the stomach for the public, we get to 1,000, 2,000 losses in any given sort of battle or war, that's enough. So are we in a position where we can't ever have a winning strategy if it involves heavy losses?
Well, this goes back to Korea. Korea is, for example, an unfinished war. It is an armistice. And, Charles, yes, we have to decide if we're in it to win it or we're in it just to kind of meander around. Because if you meander around, the problem always comes back worse. I think people in 1953 would look at today and say, man, we should have done something to resolve this, because now the North Koreans have nuclear weapons and they're looking at actually launching them on their adversaries. That was an unfinished war. So we have to decide, are we going to win wars, or are we just going to kind of meander around and act like we're important, self-important, and just not finish things? When we have to make this, London Center is going to do an event kind of going back to the Korean War to try to relitigate that, because I think that's where we went off the rails. We have not been winning wars adequately since then, and we need if we're going to do it, we need to win it.
Great point, Colonel Shaffer. And now they have the missile technology to reach Hawaii. We really appreciate it. Great stuff. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.